Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Tom Murphy Jr., and I am joined by Dan Murphy and Joe Perry. And, oh, baby, we got a Lions victory. Sweet, sweet victory. Oh, man, this is my favorite time to be on this podcast, is getting to talk about a Lions victory. We beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. No, I know. I was trying to... Because they're still an NFL team. I was going to, say something else. We beat the Albion College.
It's like when you talk about a Major League Baseball player that's better than the minors, but not quite a Major League player, is a 4A player. 4A. That's kind of what the Jacksonville Jaguars are right now.
Yeah. Hey, they are officially an NFL team, and the Lions beat them. So, it is considered in the record books a victory. A Lions victory. Go Lions! 34-16. But the score isn't even close to what that game was. The Lions, they ran up and down the field. And when's the last time we saw that since Barry Sanders, man, where the Lions actually moved the ball through the running game?
Well, we've seen it a few times last year, wasn't it? Or was it the year before?
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. Geez, time flies.
When they went to Miami and put up over 200 yards, and we all thought things are changing.
Yeah. Things are changing around here.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
And then it didn't happen. So is this some? And then it probably is, but is this some more fool's gold? Is that what this game is? And there's a lot of Lions fans out there that are actually mad that the Lions won, because the rumors were out there abound that the hot seat is hotter than ever, and if the Lions were to lose to Jacksonville, Quinntricia and Quinn wouldn't even be allowed on the plane back to Detroit. So I guess, all right, Lions dominate, but is this a good thing for Lions fans, or is this just fool's gold? Is it just buying the Quinntricia regime one more week? Where are we at with this, fellas?
It depends where you're at as a fan. If you're a fan who thinks they might be able to get on a run based on their schedule, which is fairly easy going forward for the next 6 or 7 weeks, that they could get on a run and maybe get one of those last playoff spots. If you're one of those fans that are just going to go in and say, well, I'm not. You're not necessarily on the full out. I want Quinntricia gone, and you just want them to win. Then yeah, you're rooting for victories. You're excited about this game. If you're somebody like me who thinks that they're never going to go anywhere with Quinntricia, and they need these guys gone, and they need a full clean house, then you're disappointed. Yeah. So it kind of just depends where you're at as a fan. I think you're either in one boat or the other.
All right. So it's for me, my long term. It's oh man, I still want these guys fired. I want them going. I want a new regime. But my Sunday morning, it's game day. That side, oh man, it was awesome to see, man. It's just because that's my team. They were playing. They played a football game. They played it well, and they beat the hell out of their opponent on the road, and it was fun to watch. So, what do you do, man? Here we are, man. Just another Sunday. We got to win.
I'm kind of stuck in the middle where...
That's where I'm at. I'm just in the middle, you, man.
Because I always want them to win, but I'm on the train where I would still want to get rid of Quinntricia and Quinn. So, I don't know. I'm still stuck in the middle. I want them to win. I want them to do good. So, I think these next 2-3 weeks are really important on it. If they can win, string a few wins together, then maybe they have a chance. But... I still want to see them go, so, if they lose, I'm fine with that, too.
And the thing is, all right, how upset would you be as a everyday, every game day fan and see Jacksonville just dominate the Lions? And then the whole thing burns down, season's lost, all that. This team is terrible, there's no coming back, everybody gets fired. Or now you got this glimmer of hope. Which one really is better?
In my opinion, the whole thing needs to be torn down. They need to completely rebuild. They don't have any building blocks on this team whatsoever. They need a complete and entire rebuild. And if you don't trust in Quinn, which I don't, then you're rooting for losses so that this thing is torn apart. Because the worst thing that can happen is if they are playing meaningful games in December, and they get extended.
Yeah.
Or even if they sneak into the playoffs in that 7th spot and they get blown out in the first round. They made the playoffs, though. They're improving.
They contended.
Yeah, they contended for a playoff spot, which what the mandate was right before the season. They needed to at least contend for a playoff spot. Well, they're in position to do that because of the extra playoff spot and the way the NFL is kind of playing out right now. There's a lot of haves and have-nots.
Isn't it, man?
Like, you're either really good or you're really bad. There's very few teams that are actually in the Lions position where you're kind of in the middle.
There's a lot of surprises, too, man. We're going to get into a lot of those a little bit later, man. But there are a ton of surprises. And this the wacky 2020, season, the COVID season, there's a ton of stuff that's just crazy. And, like, you watch these results, any given Sunday. But, man, this year, like, anything can happen, and it pretty much is. And a lot of it is who's getting injured and who's not. It's crazy, man. And when you look at this, when you look at the NFL from top to bottom, there's no real dominant team. And things are...
Oh, there's dominant teams.
Well, there's you've got Seattle. But, the Packers...
Seattle, Kansas City, Tennessee, there's some dominant teams.
Kansas City is good. I wouldn't say they're, like, super dominant. Like, they're definitely going to win the Super Bowl no matter what.
I'd say they're pretty dominant, though.
And Baltimore is as good as they are. They look like they can be beaten. And especially in the NFC, anybody can be beaten in the NFC, like, at any time, So for a Lions fan who looks at the Honolulu blue Kool-Aid glass half full...
Are you going to try and say that even the Lions would have an opportunity against anybody because anybody can be beaten in the NFC?
In the NFC?
Is that what you're trying to throw out there?
Yes.
Not a chance in hell. There's no way the Lions go into Seattle and beat Seattle. There's no way they beat Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers in a big-time game because they never have. They never have, and they never will beat Green Bay in a big-time game when Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. It won't happen. It hasn't happened, and it won't happen.
All I'm saying is this is 2020, and anything's possible.
The Lions are not beating Seattle. They're not beating Green Bay. I would say they're not even beating San Francisco. Like, they're not going to beat the top teams. I don't think they beat Tampa Bay in a big-time game. Like, they're not winning those games.
The Saints...
Why not?
The Saints either. We already saw it at home. They lost to the Saints.
Play like they played
without Michael Thomas. So they're not going to beat these big-time teams. So why root for it? Why root for it just for them to hang around and then get their asses kicked when it matters?
Because there's cues to look for, man. Like the defense, they stepped out. Again, the opponent was horrendous. Okay, but you saw a fight in this team. You saw pressure on the quarterback. Holy smokes, man! What a concept, man. By the way,
that works.
Pressuring the quarterback.
That works.
Ooh, yeah. They
only had one sack.
Well, there was pressure, man. There was pressure on the quarterback. The defense actually looked good. Now, again, it was basically a scrimmage against the JV.
Well, they stopped Robinson, so I was really surprised on that because he's had a good season so far, and he had 12 carries for 29 yards. So that was one, thing that they thought they did well was stop the run, which they haven't done that well this year.
And it is. Look, it is
Jacksonville.
I'm not getting pulled back in here. Like
it sounds like it, man. You're throwing around they could beat anybody. They don't see wide open.
I'm trying to stay positive.
Let's talk about
because there's a lot of football left to be played, and anything could be happen.
Why?
Because
why are you positive on this regime?
Because there's games to be played this season.
Let me ask you this, okay? Is it better for the Lions to just hang around and win 7 or 8 games? Maybe sneak in the playoffs and get smoked in the first round, or just hang around and barely miss the playoffs and this regime stays, Stafford stays? Or is it better for this thing that just completely collapsed and you trade Stafford to the Cowboys and get some first-round draft picks?
Man.
And the regime is gone and you clear house. And you get some draft picks and you start this rebuild, which is they're in desperate need of.
You think they're going to do that?
Well, that's okay. Like,
you think they're going to do that though?
If it would have completely collapsed, if they lost to Jacksonville, that was going to happen. I'm not saying the trade for Stafford, but at least Quinn and Patricia would have been gone.
I don't know if that's true. Was that
legit? There were some hot rumors, man.
I know. I heard the rumors, but
who knows? Who knows what's on Sheila's mind, man? I'm sorry, Mrs. Ford. Who knows what's on her mind, man? Like, She just received a game ball, so like that, man, that karma right there.
Well, let's talk about some positives. We did have some positives, at least in that game.
Yes.
And one thing that I always suggest and want the Lions to do is run the football.
Run the ball.
And at least Swift had a good game. He looked
real good, man. He looked like he's recovered from that week 1.
He looked like he could actually run up the middle too.
He looked like he could. He looked like a 3-down back.
Yes,
is what he looked like.
A tough physical back that can catch the ball.
He can run it up the middle. He can do the Walter Payton and leap over. How sweet was that touchdown, man? When he just leapt over the whole line and scored a touchdown. He can catch the passes. Obviously, he dropped the ball week 1, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got the speed and the quick moves to get around the outside. He's also got the toughness and the power to run between the tackles.
I didn't know if he had that watching him the first few weeks, if he really had that toughness to
he
run
does,
between
man.
the tackles.
I'm telling you, man. When I was watching him at Georgia, man, the kid can play ball, man. With that said, what do you guys think about this little rotation they're doing? They started with Adrian Peterson, and they run right down the field, and Adrian Peterson muscles in a touchdown, and then they go right to Swift, who looks positive, and then they gave Kerryon a few,
he got
cookies here and there.
He's fallen off.
4 carries.
What he was, what
Good
we thought he
second-round
was,
pick.
and he's just kind of fallen off.
So
Swift's completely taken all his carries now at this point.
So what do you do with Kerryon then?
I mean, he's your third back. I mean, he's a fine third back.
He's a good third
But
back.
he was a second-round
I know he was. I know it. He looked good.
That's why you don't waste those picks, man, on running backs in the second round.
It's right back to Bob Quinn, man. Because you can get a it looks like you can get a Kerryon Johnson as an undrafted free agent,
Oh, yeah.
not a second-round pick. But the guy was a beast at Auburn. When you're the leading rusher in the SEC, that's something. It is. Man, I wonder if he spent as much time watching tape on Kerryon Johnson as he did.
Tease Tabor.
Yeah. Oh, I already forgot his name, dude. Because he's long gone.
He's never watched more film
That's
than
what
any one
Dan's
player.
best for. You can't remember
Yeah.
someoe's name. Dan's like, I got it.
Yeah. No, I was giving Dan a softball, man, because I know that has to go down as the worst pick, right? That he's had. We could do that, man. Maybe if we get bored next week, we would just break down the worst picks of Bob Quinn's career.
When they eventually get fired, which is inevitable, it will happen. It's not a question of if, but when.
Not if we make the playoffs.
And when they're fired, we'll do that. We'll break down his
That's a good idea.
his worst moments.
The top 10. Oh man.
I'll write it down so I remember.
Yeah, noted. That is a topic for the future. But all right. We're on the positives, though, man. We're on the positive train, right? It's a win. The schedule is favorable, and Swift had a coming out party, which was nice, especially for my fantasy team. Loved it. And another positive, but could also be a negative, is Kenny Golladay, man. Good old Kenny G.
He looks like a little more healthy than he has.
Wow, he looks healthy. Guy can catch almost anything. The guy can catch almost anything, and he strong-armed Instagram, man, and basically told the Lions and the world that he wants his money.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. It's his time. He's got free agency coming up if he doesn't get some type of extension. And he's flexing his muscles, as he should be, man, because as we all know,
we already said to pay him.
The NFL, man, not for long.
But Dan, do you
money.
pay him if you're thinking about tearing it down? Do you pay him still?
I said they don't have any building blocks.
Yeah.
He's the one. He's the one building block, which preferably your building blocks would be defensive and offensive line that you build around.
Yeah.
But he's a stud. He's a top 5 player. He's a stud. I mean, you pay him.
You got him top 5 wide receiver?
I do. I do. Bottom of the top 5.
I think top 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's arguable, but he's in the conversation.
It really is arguable because right now you look at if you did some power rankings on stud receivers right now, and consider it like a most valuable player to your team type thing, could you put Kenny Galladay over Michael Thomas because of what's going on over there in New Orleans with Michael Thomas? And you got these trade rumors.
Oh, they also got Alvin Kamara.
Coaches and,
like the Lions don't have an Alvin Kamara they can go to if Kenny Galladay's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a difference. But that's what I mean with the Lions. They just don't have. They don't have a lot of guys.
We can even think about it. Like, all right, you got DeAndre Hopkins. All right, it's probably
Here, I got a list.
Is he even clear number one?
So you got Thomas, Tariq Hill.
Yeah.
Got
who didn't do nothing last week.
Devontae Adams, Julio Jones.
Yep, Julio, who's hurt all the time.
He's broken down.
Mike
he's still
Evans.
great.
Wow,
I shouldn't say broken down in that sense, but he just
when he's healthy,
he's beat up.
Look out, man!
Yeah, exactly.
The guy got me 30-something points this week, man, because I put him in my flex, man. Thank you.
He's like Calvin towards the end. Like Calvin was just always beat up.
Okay, but go on.
There's Mike Evans.
Yeah, but who got what 2 points? They didn't even factor in that game.
I'm just going down the list that they. I just pulled up some random list.
Yeah,
so,
no, I get. Think about this.
Galladay, they have at 6.
Yeah,
it's 6.
And then they have Hopkins, which Hopkins is probably higher.
Hopkins should be at least.
Yeah, Hopkins.
How old is this list here?
Yeah.
Then they have Metcalf.
Well, Metcalf, rising star for sure,
and Godwin.
Yeah, who's on the other side of Evans, so that doesn't help.
It's kind of early for him. I just pulled up, like I said,
it's an old ass list.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
You said Cortland Sutton's got a blown ACL, right?
It was just like top this year.
Okay, all right.
Probably going into the season.
I get going into the season. Yeah,
but
that makes some sense, though.
I mean, Hopkins should be it.
But where are you at, though, because some of these receivers, man, if you look at some of these young guys coming up, our receivers a dime a dozen. Our Galladays aren't a dime a dozen. But
I'll keep going back to it. I think I've said this every podcast. But look at the Texans trading Hopkins.
Yeah,
it's a huge difference maker.
And how'd that work out? Yeah,
it's a difference. Like getting a receiver in the 15 to 20 range. 15 to 25 range. That might be, you could argue, maybe a little more of a dime a dozen. But getting a top 5 player at your position, that's to me that's a building block. Especially a young player still in his first contract. Like that's somebody you extend and you build around him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you don't find those on. You can't just draft one in the 5th, 6th round or whatever and hope that he's going to develop and be a top 5 player in his position. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
like you can get starters. Obviously, you can get starters late in the rounds, but getting a top player at his position, that doesn't happen every day.
And you saw it, and that's what we saw on Sunday was the beauty of a team that had a balanced offense. When you have a running back. When your starting running back runs down the field and scores a touchdown, and then you bring in your second running back, and he pretty much dominates the game, and you also have a receiver that gets 100 yards, that's beautiful offense right there, man. And that's what the Lions did, and that's what they have. So there are some building blocks on this. Swift showed what he can do. Now, again, it was Jacksonville. Okay,
but it's got a nice softball matchup next week.
Next weekend, Atlanta. It wasn't such a softball for Minnesota, was it?
That's true.
I think the whole world bet on Minnesota last Sunday, and the whole world lost, man.
Yeah, I mean, but you can put points against that defense.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, Minnesota's really iffy.
They are
too.
Bad.
They're iffy.
Are they surprisingly bad? Like,
yeah.
Minnesota,
their defense, it went from being one of the top in the league to just being
How does that happen so quickly, man? Like,
I don't know.
It's crazy, man.
It is crazy.
I would have thought Minnesota would have been much better.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so I mean, the Falcons, they play the Colts, then the Vikings, then Washington, and the Panthers, Texans, and Bears. So,
and that's what it is, man. And all those teams are beatable, but all those teams can beat you. Like the NFL is such a just a mediocre mash-up of just anybody can be beaten or anybody can get beat.
I don't agree with you.
Not anybody.
I don't agree with you. I think the Jets aren't beating anybody.
All right, well,
the Jags can't go into beating some of the top teams.
You got your couple teams that are bad, and you got your couple teams that are really good. I'd say 3 teams are really, really good, and 3 teams are really, really bad, and then you got 25 other teams.
I think it's more than that.
What about the Bears? Do you think the Lions can beat the Bears? If they
should have beat them
again.
game one.
We should have beat them
No, I
game
know.
one.
That's what I'm saying.
And that could have sent their whole season
And
toppling
The
down.
Bears are
the
not
way.
what their record
But they
says
keep winning.
I hate
They
that.
are who we thought
I
they
hate-
were,
Well,
Dan.
the phrase "your record is who you are."
Yeah.
It's
it
not
doesn't
the
matter.
Bears.
But it's not the Bears.
What if they
I'm
keep
sorry.
winning?
It's not the Bears.
What if they keep winning?
We keep saying that, but they keep winning.
Plus, you got Big Bleep Nick, man. Like,
It's their
running that team,
defense
man.
that is winning games, but it's
Yeah.
they're not. The eye test does not tell you that they're a 5-1 football team.
Your record is who you are, man. And these guys are like,
So you're saying anybody can beat
these
the
guys
Bears?
are they're pretty much the
85.
85
Yes.
Bears right now,
All right.
man. Is what they are, dude. That's what I'm saying. The Bears are.
The Bears
Go back
5-1
to
is different than
85.
Kansas City's 5-1. Okay,
Is it?
They're not the same.
Is it really?
What about the Packers?
Yeah.
4-1. Or wait, are they 4-1?
Are you allowed to have a bad game and still be great?
Yes,
Because they had a bad game.
Yeah.
the Green Bay does. It's weird. Like last year, they did the same thing. Like also, you look at their record. I think it was 12-4 last year. Went to the NFC Championship game, but the games they lost, they just got murdered. So you think they're not as good as what they were because the games that they lost, they just got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And they're usually like big primetime games that they're getting crushed on.
Yeah.
But they are good. They are a good football team. But for whatever reason, these big games are getting annihilated. The games they lost, like look, 2 games last year against San Francisco. The Sunday night game against San Francisco where they went out there and got killed, and then obviously the NFC Championship game where they got killed, and then this game against Tampa Bay, it was a big, the prime 4 p.m. game. They got destroyed.
All right. So look, I want to just have a little bit more of this glory moment, savoring the victory. Okay. And again, this is
You got a few more days.
I don't know if it's the
till
right
next-
side or the left. Which side is the smarter side of your brain? Is it the right side or the left side? All right. Whichever side of my brain is dumber, we'll call it the left, wants to just savor this victory and just enjoy that moment. Because I watch Lions football every Sunday, and I just, in the heat of the moment, I want them to win the football game. You know why? Because you play to win the game. All right? And as a fan, you're supposed to do that, okay? So the right side of my brain, though, is like, man, they could have blown this and blown the whole thing up, and we could have started a new 2020 sucks anyway. Why not just blow it all up right now and then get ready for 2021, which has to be like the best year ever, right? And because it can't get any worse, that's for sure. I'm just as far as years go and people go, like 2021 has to be better than 2020. So why not blow it all up right now? Trade, let's trade Stafford. Let's, trade Galladay. Let's tank for Lawrence. What, lose for Lawrence? Is that what it is? Like,
Yeah, lose for Lawrence.
Lose for Lawrence. Lose better than the Jets do. Like, that's the new chant. Lose better than the Jets do somehow.
I was hoping we played them, but no, we don't.
No, we don't. It doesn't look like they might.
They might go 1-16.
Yeah, that'd be nice to get another team in the 0-16 club, right? But man, okay, so this is what I'm saying, man. This is where I'm at. The left side of my brain says, this is a good start. This team looks good. They're buying in. Everything's going to click, and we're going to go on a run. The right side of my brain says, oh, you're an idiot.
You should listen to the right side of the brain more.
I know.
Nah, I'm just joking.
I know. But it's never going to change, though.
Yeah.
Like I said,
You're always going to have that side.
Every Sunday, I'm gonna tune into that TV at 1:00, and because we never get the primetime games no more, man. So I'm gonna tune in every Sunday at 1:00, and I'm gonna hope we win and I hope we play good. But the long term is like, man, I guess let's just see what happens, man. Honestly, what needs to happen, obviously, is we got to fire these guys and bring in a new thing because this ain't working.
What if we fire them and then win the rest of the games?
That'd be something.
Not going to happen.
So what can we take? We get all the way to the Super Bowl and Darryl Bevell is faced with. I'm not even going down that road.
So what's the biggest take we can take from that game? Can we take anything from it? or just because it's Jacksonville.
I think what we said. Galladay looks great, and he wants to get paid. DeAndre Swift looks like he's going to be good.
I would say Swift is my biggest take from the game for sure. I mean, we'll see if he can continue the rest of the season because it looks like they are going to give him, after that you got to give him more balls. You can't split with Peterson. You got to give him 20-10. How they basically it was 14-15. So you got to give him 20 carries and just see what he does. I mean,
we got this trade deadline coming up.
When is the trade deadline? Do you know offhand?
That's a great question.
I'll look it up.
I don't think they're going to trade.
It's like next week.
I mean, in
theory,
theory, it's great to think about. Like, man, if they are going to do a total rebuild, this would be the time to trade Stafford. Like the Cowboys are sitting there, they need a quarterback.
November 3rd.
It makes all this. Yeah, it makes all this.
Is that also Election Day, or is that November 6th? I think that's Election Day, bro. I think the trade deadline is up. What is going to be more important in your mind, the presidential election or the NFL trade deadline day?
I think it's the 5th or something. But
oh man,
yeah, it is.
Is it November 3rd?
Yeah,
same day. Oh man, that's gonna be a wild day. All right, because Dan, you brought that up, so we're going to move on to 3 things from around the league, but I'm going to trump you guys, and I'm going to go first because, Dan, you led me right into my topic. My topic is what the hell is going on in the NFC East, and specifically the Dallas Cowboys, and what do they do before November 3rd, the trade deadline? Because Jerry Jones is up there like, he ain't having this, man. He got embarrassed on national TV.
We would be in first if we were in the East, Dan.
Well, they would be playing all those teams. Did they beat all those teams? Did they beat the Cowboys? Did they beat the Eagles?
Yeah.
I think they might.
Oh, my God. Everybody's beating them, man. Why don't the Lions get in?
The Lions would just fit right into that
They
division.
probably would. They'd probably
yeah.
You're probably right on that.
All right, but look, man. Okay, so we're going around the league real quick. And we're each going to pull a topic out. And, my topic is, like I said, this NFC East, this circus, man. It's possible that one of these teams is going to go 7-9 and win the division.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. Maybe not even, they could go, one of these teams go 6-10 possibly and win the division. There's so much bad football over here. And the NFC East is generally throughout NFL history one of the meanest, toughest, most fun divisions to keep an eye on, And there's a lot of Super Bowls in that league. There's a lot of history in that division, a lot of history in that division, and wow. What is going on there right now is wow. And my thing is, if you're Dallas right now, specifically if you're Jerry Jones, what are you thinking about? You are thinking about the fact that Andy Dalton ain't going to do nothing for you. Your top running back, your guy, a lot of times called the best running back in the NFL, fumbled twice. And there are situations abound here. What team that isn't that good right now should really get on the phone and call Jerry Jones and say, hey, I got a quarterback for you?
Miami.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Miami.
What about Atlanta with Matt Ryan? What about the Lions with Stafford? Those are 3.
Stafford makes all the sense in the world. I mean, even if you just take us out of it, being Detroit fans, what we think the Lions should do and what we think the Cowboys should do, it just makes all the sense in the world. Stafford is this guy who has all this talent, who's just been on a bad team, hasn't had the guys around him, hasn't had a good coaching staff around. He just hasn't been in the right place, really. But he has the talent. Everybody in the league knows he has the talent. You stick him on the Cowboys with all the talent that they have. You give him Ezekiel Elliott, a running back of that caliber he's never had before, and you give him that receiving core. My God. You'd really see the true Matt Stafford at that point and see all the talent that he has come through in fruition. The Cowboys desperately need a quarterback. They're in prime position to win a division if you put a competent quarterback in that position.
What is Stafford
But
worth
are they
right
going?
now?
Are they going to win the Super Bowl?
they could win the division and anything goes in the playoffs.
But that's what we say about the Lions.
Not the division. You're talking about the Lions making the playoffs, and they got to
not the
win.
Lions.
The Cowboys, they win the division, you get a home playoff game the first game.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Especially if they get hot and Stafford really, he's from Texas.
Their defense, it does fit because, like you said, he is from Texas.
Do you think that matters at all? I wonder about that stuff, man. Like going back to your home state or whatever. Does that mean anything? Like,
I think it does. All your friends and family and everything there, every game that's where you live. You get to live where your friends and family are. Yeah, I mean, I think that would benefit someone.
What do you think? Okay, because the situation would be hard as hell. But Stafford getting traded has been talked about for a couple of years now. But you got Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia with backs against the wall.
They're not going to trade him. The only way he gets traded is one of two things, right? They get an extension. All right, that's the only way that Quinn would trade him, right? Is if they got an extension guaranteed extension, or they're both fired.
Yeah,
and you get a new GM in there.
Yeah,
that would have to with the.
It would have to be one of those two things.
So the firing would have to happen quick.
It happens one of those two things. That's why them beating Jacksonville the way they did is bad for the future of the Lions. If you think it was a possibility of Stafford getting traded to the Cowboys, which it might not even be a possibility, regardless, right? What the owners, they probably love Stafford. They probably don't want him traded, right? But in reality, like if you thought it was a possibility, you needed the Lions to lose to Jacksonville because all the pieces had to fall in place for it to happen, and it's probably not going to happen.
All right, so let's say if Stafford doesn't happen, you have to feel like Dallas is going to
make a move.
Something. What about Matt Ryan? Do you think it's time for Atlanta to move on from Matt Ryan? He is basically Stafford South. you know?
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Except for one's been to a bunch of playoff games in a Super Bowl, famously lost that Super Bowl. But what do you can you envision Matt Ryan in a Dallas Cowboy uniform? And would it be time for Atlanta to do that? Make that move?
Well, they already fired their coach, so they're ready. They're on that track. The Lions aren't on that track. They didn't even fire anybody yet. They're not even on that track yet. But Atlanta has. They fired their coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they know Julio Jones ain't getting any younger, right? That's their stud receiver. Like, Matt Ryan, for that matter, ain't getting younger. Like, the time is now for them to rebuild. And, the window's shut for them for winning a championship. So the time would be now for them to trade Matt Ryan.
The thing about it, okay, the NFL draft, a first-round draft pick is very valuable, even if it's because if Dallas makes a trade for a high-level quarterback and they make a move, they win the division, perhaps even win a home playoff game, that draft pick is going to be high up there, but it's still a first-round NFL draft pick. That has to be valuable to anybody who has an aging quarterback, right?
Or a team in general that needs
to rebuild. What do you think Dallas is capable of giving up? Because I've heard
two.
Let's
next year.
Well, yeah, this year is not first round. Probably not 2 first rounds for either of those guys. Probably a first and a fourth round this year. Maybe a
second the next year.
Second next year. What about a guy like?
That's what I'm telling you,
Fitzmagic.
Fitzpatrick you can get for a lot cheaper because they're ready to go to Tua.
They're already doing it. So now, you've already.
That one makes
cleared the market on Fitzpatrick. You could a 4th round pick straight up for Fitzpatrick. But could Fitzpatrick bring the same level of competition, the same level of winning that a Matt Stafford or a Matt Ryan can bring?
No.
What do you think?
It won't hurt
Dallas
you though in the
future.
It won't hurt you as much, especially if you plan on signing. It depends on if you plan on signing Dak long term or not. If you don't, then you trade for Stafford or Ryan. If you do, then you get Fitzpatrick because he's a lot cheaper. He's only cost you like a 4th, 5th round or something instead of a 1st round pick, which will hurt you for the future.
Nope.
Well, the other thing is that Dak Prescott isn't dead. Like he's coming back next year. Yeah. So if you do make a trade for Stafford, then what are you going to do next year when Prescott's ready to go?
Well, they're probably just going to let him walk. He's going to be.
Would be your quarterback.
They can. If I know this correctly, they can franchise tag him again for the second time, or let him walk, right? That's the two choices. Or, well, sign him long term.
I don't know. I didn't look into his contract.
I think that's what it is. They have three choices.
If you're in Dallas situation, do you let Prescott go?
Just blew his ankle out, man.
But he was having a career year.
He sure was. Things were looking decent, and then now they've all gone to hell. But
it depends, because Stafford would probably be
you can't have Prescott and Stafford.
Obviously,
yeah.
You can't have Prescott and Matt Ryan. You can have Prescott and Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. So I think that would be the best choice for them.
But what happens when Fitzpatrick does what Fitzpatrick does, and he throws 5 picks on Thanksgiving in a must-win game for Dallas?
But you're not a team that's going to win the Super Bowl this year.
I mean, they have no matter what they do, they got to fix that defense. I mean, that's clear. But you put a Stafford or a Matt Ryan on that offense, that's a championship level offense.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah, I mean like it was before.
Just like you said, you already said it, Dan. Just imagine what Stafford could do with Zeke and Amari Cooper. And CeeDee Lamb is a bad man too. He's gonna get his time to shine, man. And especially the Lions. Well, Matt Stafford has always been good with slot receivers, man. Those secondary receivers, and he can find a way to get CeeDee Lamb open in space, man.
It's a fascinating thing. At the end of the day, do I think Stafford's even going to be in play in this? No. Do I think he should be? Absolutely.
Yeah. No,
but I don't think he will be. But it is fascinating to see what the Cowboys are going to do, because they're going to do something. They are not riding the rest of the season with Andy Dalton. I cannot see it. No. They're going to make a move somewhere.
Jerry Jones won't stand for it. He's got to be so tired, and especially after the biggest meme of the week. All right, last week's biggest meme was the Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Stiff arm to Josh Norman. This week's biggest meme was the Dallas fan crying as his girlfriend consoles him.
I didn't see that.
Man, it's perfect Dallas Cowboy.
That's
dude.
Funny.
The guy, he looks like he's probably a badass dude, right? He's got a sweet jersey. He's actually at the game, which that costs him money. Mm-hmm. He's got a hot girlfriend trying to console him, and he's literally crying. That's got to be tough. His boys are crushing him right now. Because he is national attention.
He probably moved.
He is,
from Dallas.
He's probably a Philly fan now. Something. I don't know. Man.
Yeah, I'm sure Philly fans are going to accept him.
Yeah, really. He's something else, man. I think, dude, he definitely had to move, man. He definitely has to get a new set of friends, and I don't know if he's been identified yet because his face is down.
Yeah.
But, oh man, he looked like he had money, and he had a hot girlfriend. So,
he'll be okay.
He's gonna be all right. But man,
maybe he'll get a tissue deal or something.
Something, man. But here's the deal. In my best Joe Biden, but here's the deal. Here's the deal, man. Dallas. They have time to figure something out because this division is so bad.
Well, they got till the trade deadline.
Yeah,
they got a couple weeks.
They do.
But they got to figure out that defense. That trumps everything. Everything else with their team. They got to figure out that defense because
they didn't even look like they're trying.
It's so bad.
They weren't even. They just let them run by them and not.
Their secondary.
And now they're backdoor channeling. Bad stuff about their coaches, man. I saw one headline today, man. Unidentified Cowboy player says, our coaches suck. Basically, it's basically
they don't know what they're doing.
Unprepared, have no idea what they're doing. Whatever you want to say.
That.
Oh man, it's dissension in that locker room, man. And what you really need is a stand-up, fiery guy like Matt Stafford. A guy who will stand up in the microphone and just start yelling at
if he's got to say something publicly against his players, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
I just got to get better. I got to, just
we're working hard.
Get to practice.
We're all trying real hard. We're going to watch some film. That's what you need. Oh, Lord. All right, Dan.
The Dallas Cowboy podcast is over.
Hey, it was should the Dallas Cowboys get Matt Stafford, because what would it mean for the Lions?
But it is fascinating.
It really is, man. And it's going to be fascinating the next few days, man. The next,
a couple weeks.
Week and a half, to see what goes down, man. But, Dan, you got a topic.
You did. You mentioned Derrick Henry earlier. Having this smoke. He was unbelievable, and the Titans look unbelievable. They are 5-0.
He continues to be unbelievable.
Derrick Henry,
this guy's a YouTube highlight machine, man.
He's a
94-yard touchdown run when they absolutely needed a big-time play. He just goes off. He just runs people over.
Yeah, I got this.
He runs
incredible.
people over, and then he outruns people,
outruns
too.
them. Yeah, he runs them over,
crazy.
and then runs past. He runs over guys in the linebackers.
Yeah.
Defensive linemen and linebackers, he runs them over, and then he runs past guys in the secondary.
Yeah, it's
crazy. Unbelievable.
Or sends them 30 feet in the air
with a stiff arm.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, Ryan Tannehill, he's been a top 10 quarterback going back to when they started this run in midseason last year when he took over. When he took over at quarterback.
Second chances, man.
It's unbelievable what this team is doing, and they blew out Buffalo a couple weeks ago on that Tuesday night game, which is the new thing.
Yeah.
These Tuesday night games.
Are you ready for some Tuesday football? I am, man. Give me football 7 days a week.
I like Tuesday better than Thursday football.
I do too. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. To have that be the last game of the week.
Yeah.
A Tuesday night game.
Instead of Thursday the 1st.
And I like these double headers on Monday night too.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why the NFL hasn't gone into this sooner. But anyways, Tennessee Titans is the topic.
Not only that.
Thought for next week.
Yeah.
Not only that.
How do we improve
Tuesday night football.
schedule?
Tuesday night football, double headers on Monday.
Yeah. But I want Tuesday. And then how about a Wednesday night game?
No, you don't need to go that
What
way.
about a Wednesday afternoon game?
No.
We just throw a Wednesday afternoon game at 2:00 in the afternoon for no reason, dude.
You might see it in this
It'll
2020
screw up
season.
your waiver wire picks, but sorry, Dad.
No.
Football 7 days a week.
Hey,
I vote yes.
Yeah, it might happen. But anyways,
Tennessee.
These Titans next week. Steelers battle of 5-0 teams. So that's a game that actually got moved because of all this COVID stuff. It was originally supposed to be a couple weeks ago. Both teams had to take their bye, and now they're rescheduled the game for next week.
Showdown, man, a real
Tennessee.
showdown,
It gets two just completely physical teams, probably the two most physical teams in the league right now, the Steelers and the Titans. So that's going to be a battle and a fun game to see.
But not only that, to not be able to practice for a couple of weeks, even though they had
with
practices and all of them,
and they're doing a bunch of virtual practices and just talking to each other over the computer, and to be able to play the way they're playing right now is
even
pretty
for
impressive.
a lot of them to have it.
But that goes back to look at their coaches.
Yeah,
look at their coaches. Like Mike
Vrabel.
Vrabel.
That bought into their coaches, bought into their system. A general manager who built a team. It's awesome, man. Look, with this game though, I do.
But the Lions could have had a chance at Mike Vrabel.
I know.
And they took Patricia.
Listen, Devin Bush went down with an ACL, so I just want to man, that sucks. That sucks because that's going to hurt Pittsburgh pretty bad.
Trying to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and I think that's I just hate that because I love this guy, man. I love watching this guy playing football, and he was built for this exact game, man. He could have been the Henry stopper, So I'm bummed out about that, but just because we're,
Do you
Devin
think
Bush
Tennessee
fans
is a playoff contending team?
Yes,
that?
I do.
Super Bowl.
That's what I meant. Super Bowl.
team.
Super
You
Bowl.
mentioned how there isn't dominant teams. I think Tennessee is a dominant team
They
they showed in the span of 6 days, right? They played that Tuesday night game against Buffalo and dominated Buffalo. It was a pretty good football team, and then they could play Houston, a team they thought they would have beat, but they get behind. All right, the final 2 minutes they drive down. They're down 7. Mm-hmm. They drive down and score a touchdown right in the final seconds. Then they get the ball in overtime and go down and score a touchdown. They showed that they can dominate a team in one end, and then the next week, they're down. You think they might finally lose, and then they come in the last seconds, get a last second drive. Tannehill leads it, and they end up winning the game. They shows they can do everything that you need them to do. If you try to shut down Derrick Henry, well, Tannehill's going to step up and throw it to A.J. Brown and throw it to all the receivers they got. If you try to shut that down, then Derrick Henry's going to absolutely dominate you. And then defensively, they got a great coaching staff with Mike Vrabel, who's going to come up with great game plans, and they have a great physical defense, so they can do everything you need them to do. So I think it's fascinating. I think it's going to be a fascinating matchup next week against Pittsburgh. I really want. They're very similar teams, similar styles. It's going to be a really fun matchup to see.
It's going to be a slobber knocker.
Speaking of slobber knockers,
I know, yeah. I love this, man. I love just the thought of that football game, man. It is going to be.
That's what I like.
Awesome,
those are my
dude.
style of football teams. I love the physical, the run the ball type of teams, and that's why Steelers have always been my secondary team. And I agree. I think that's going to be a great matchup. And is it a 4:00 matchup?
I think it's 4:00.
I was going to say it sounds like it
they should move that. Are they allowed to move Sunday night games yet?
Not yet. Ooh. Yeah, don't start flexing. I don't think they start flexing until Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they'd do it after college season. So.
All right, Joe.
I was just
Joe's topic.
I like to see Rodgers not do anything.
So you enjoyed?
I enjoyed watching.
You enjoyed watching Rodgers get the crap kicked out of him.
Get sacked 5 times, not be able to do anything, not throw one touchdown. I did play him in both leagues in fantasy against him, so this might be a little biased.
Oh, you were against him?
Yes.
In both leagues, you were against him? Oh, that's even sweeter.
So, what I noticed the most was the pressure on Rodgers, and that's what the Lions don't do, is they do not put pressure on their quarterback. So, that's how you beat a good quarterback like that, is by putting pressure, and that's why you build through the defensive line. So, I just thought it was like a blueprint on how to beat Rodgers. I just thought that's what Tampa Bay did, and we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Is this another chip in, Tom Brady's wheelhouse, like going in there and beating Rodgers,
I don't think it had anything to do with Brady.
Team? Well, the big build-up was Brady versus Rodgers,
Yeah.
Does this mean does beating Green Bay in regular season mean anything? It means something, but in Brady's legacy, this is a nothing thing, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a big game for them. Coming off that ugly loss with Chicago, where Tom Brady couldn't remember what down it was. That was bad. And if they would have came out and got beat by Green Bay or got smoked by Green Bay, then that's a snowball that can go downhill for you. It could turn bad real quick. So to come back and bounce back and destroy Green Bay the way they did, no one's talking about Tom Brady not remembering the down anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're talking about, threw a touchdown to Gronkowski. It's like the old time days again.
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly what I said, too. Oh, Gronk is back. To the old Gronk-Brady connection, man.
Yeah, it looked like back in the day.
It did, man.
Yeah.
In Tampa Bay, they're not just a fantasy football team right now. They're actually starting to click.
Yeah, they're coming together. Their defense is a really good defense, and it showed it again. It showed it against the Packers, and then to do that to Rodgers. Do you guys think that this is unique to Rodgers and the Packers, or?
Oh, I think
this
season for sure. I think this is
at times.
No, I think this. Look, teams are going to get beat, man. No team's going undefeated this year. It's
38-10.
It was a bad game, man. It was a bad game. I don't think this is gonna send Green Bay snowballing into losing a bunch of games in a row.
No.
I think Green Bay is still really good. It's just a bad game, man. Shake it off.
I talked about earlier with Green Bay. This just happens to them. It happened to them last year, and they were still a really good football team last year. Just when they lost, they got killed. It's hard to really explain. Their losses, they just get murdered in. But that's what's happened the last year and a half here.
So should the Lions take note on how to stop Rodgers? We normally do a decent
you can
job.
Just sending pressure is one thing, but you got to get there.
Yeah,
you got to get there, and it helps having a really good defensive line.
And you got to have a secondary that can close in quick, man, because you guys have to be covered off the jump. If you're going to blitz, you can't let Rodgers just pick you apart in 3 seconds.
Man.
Yeah. That was a combined effort by that Tampa Bay defense, and it was impressive. Did it show signs of weakness? Yeah, there's going to be film. So guess what? Everything that Tampa Bay did right is going to be exposed now. Can your guys do that though? And that's what we'll find out in these coming weeks as Green Bay faces a bunch of challenges. I think Green Bay is going to be there when it comes down to playoff time.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think Green Bay's falling off and losing 7 games in a row or nothing. I think they're going to be just fine, and they're going to be in the mix like they always are. And I think Rodgers has a fire. I think having Green Bay draft a quarterback in the first round lit a fire under Rodgers' ass. And losing this game is probably going to light even a bigger fire.
Why didn't they put Love in, though, when they took Rodgers out? Didn't make any sense to me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They put in a different guy, Tim Boyle.
Maybe they just don't think he's ready yet, man.
You think? Yeah, it's just weird.
He's just not ready yet, perhaps. Maybe he's not doing good in practice.
I mean, he didn't have a pass.
There's really no reports or nothing because you're not hearing nothing about, Jordan Love's looking real good in practice. He might take over for Rodgers this year. You're not hearing none of that chatter. So maybe they just got him on the back of the bench, and they're just like his whole thing is whole thing is for him to sit 1, 2, maybe 3 years. Just like Rodgers did, just like. Well, Favre didn't because Favre got traded from Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he didn't immediately start, did he?
Like week 2, I think.
That was like 20 years ago, so I don't remember. It was week 2. It was against Detroit.
No, it was
a chilly Sunday afternoon.
It was against Cincinnati at Lambeau, and he had to come back win.
It was 21-16.
I can't remember the score, but I know it was against Cincinnati.
He threw an over the shoulder pass to
Sterling Sharp.
It was in the right corner of the end zone.
It was the right corner of the end zone, actually.
You son of a bitch. Oh Lord. All right, man. So that's around the league, man. But oh my God, this league, what's happening right now is this year is showing that anything can happen and anybody can be beaten. It's all right, man, because this is our year, right, man?
We're here to blow it up. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Around the League. We love talking NFL football. If you love NFL football or college football or sports in general, you should put your money where your mouth is. You know what? Don't put your money where your mouth is. Put your money at MyBookie. That's where you want to put your money. You don't even have to talk. You could do everything online. And just after you win all your money, then you can go shooting your mouth off about how much money you won at MyBookie.com. Listen, you might be a fan of one of these teams in the NFC East, and that means winning season is still possible. So keep on winning, man. Winning season means even now, your team is still going to win some football games, and you can bet on them. And if you really want to bet on them, you can double your first deposit at MyBookie.com. And if you're not sure about the games, you can do a lot of different things, man. They got squares, super contests. There is a Survivor League. Who is even going to be a survivor, man, in this cutthroat NFL 2020 season? Who the heck knows? But if you do, put your money at MyBookie.com. Look, sign up now and make your first deposit to get a dollar-for-dollar match all the way up to $1,000. And you can get yourself a free entry into the famed MyBookie Super Contest. To play in the contest, all you have to do is pick 5 NFL games against the spread to have a chance at $100,000 guaranteed in cash prizes. Look, the best part is MyBookie has thousands of bets to choose from. The full slate of NFL games and all these different prop bets. If you think OBJ is going to get 100 yards this week, put your money up. It's simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash. Use the promo code
The Sit Down, all one word, The Sit Down,
and double your first deposit now. It's a no-brainer. Your winning season can begin right now.
Hey, the Lions started their winning season.
Right now.
Exactly.
Right now. Take your money, put it all on the Lions, and do it at MyBookie.com. I'm going to put all my money on the Lions to win. Joe, run down those numbers.
The Lions are getting 2 at Atlanta, and it's the money line is 115 plus 115, and then the over is 56.5 to over under.
Oof.
So
It's high.
That's
Not
high.
a lot of faith in the defense on
No.
that one.
It does seem like a high-scoring game, but that's a high line.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is two teams that have pretty high-powered offenses and no defense. So it could go that way for sure.
Hey. Both of these defenses stepped up like this weekend. That is an interesting line. I would put all my money on all of the over. I think the Lions are going to come out and win. I think that it's going to be a high-scoring shootout. I wonder. You always like to look for these storylines, and one storyline this week could be Marcus Trufant. Oh, I did what you did last week.
Desmond Trufant.
Desmond Trufant. Oh,
it's hard,
you
isn't
got
it?
my brain, Dan. I think you did that a couple weeks ago. But yeah, no. But okay, well, either way, let's just go with Trufant. Trufant, the Falcons let him walk. The Lions picked him up. Now, he's been hurt. The reason the Falcons let him walk is because the guy's always hurt. He was hurt last week. Is he able to come back this week? And does that matter? Could he have a really big game, against a team that let him go? I don't know. It's probably going to be a nothing situation there. If he even plays, hopefully he plays good. I would love to see that, though. That'd be a real nice storyline if he has like two interceptions. One of them's a pick six, something like that, where like he makes it a storyline.
All it says is questionable.
Yeah,
It doesn't say anything under that. Like
Nothing
all the
that,
other
yeah.
players. Just
Yeah.
questionable.
Just questionable. So, I don't know, man. That could be a situation. I mean, the guy's a gamer. He's one of those dudes that can make big plays in big time moments. Maybe he comes back to play. He had this one marked on his calendar. He did. But with what I saw last Sunday against the 4A team, God, I just don't want to believe in this fool's gold and just get my teeth kicked in, man. I don't want to do that. But I'm gonna, man. I'm riding the Lions train at least one more week. Atlanta looked good against Minnesota, but Minnesota looks bad. Atlanta, sometimes firing your coach, and that can get a team fired up, man. And obviously it did this week. They put up 40. Julio Jones looked like Julio Jones from, 5-10 years ago? Like, how far do you want to go back with the great Julio Jones, man? He went off, and so did Ryan, so did that whole offense. And the defense stepped up. That bad, lackluster defense really stepped up and shut down the certain Hall of Famer Kirk Cousins. I mean,
What?
it's got to be, right? The great Kirk Cousins?
The Michigan State Hall of Fame? Sure.
You like that? You like that? I don't know, man. Like, what do you do? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen this Sunday. I don't even know what I want to happen, man. like even going through this whole
That's why
episode,
that's why all our fans listen.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't
expertise.
even know what I want to happen. That's my opinion. My prediction is I don't know. What? I mean, all right, man.
Great analyst.
Yeah, yup. Full of that NFL knowledge, that insider info that you come looking for.
Well, what's your pick? You're picking the Lions.
God,
What's the
I don't
score?
know, man.
You're picking the Lions. You just said you're picking the Lions. What's the score?
I want to, man. But then I just started thinking about how good Atlanta looked last week against Minnesota, who sucks. Who looked better? All right. Atlanta looked better against a little bit better opponent than the Lions did against Jacksonville.
Is
But I
Minnesota
still
really
think
a little bit better? They might
A
not
little
be.
bit better than Jacksonville?
It might not
God,
be.
I hope so. I would think so. They gotta be. They gotta be better than Jacksonville, right?
Yeah,
They didn't have Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Ah, man.
You want to think about it? You want me to go?
No, it doesn't matter because I'm just going to go back and forth anyway. And then Dan's going to make good points, and then Joe, you're going to make good points, and then my brain's going to be all. I'm going to get mind bottled, man. When my mind gets all bottled up. Oh man! All right, Lions 37, Atlanta 34. Matt Prater kicks a 60-yarder to win the game with 1 second left.
He missed a 57, didn't he?
Barely.
Yeah.
So hopefully he does pull it off
That's
and
my
hits that
prediction.
60-yarder.
What did I say? We got to mark this again because I always forget. 37, 34. 37, 34?
That is what you picked, yes.
36, 37.
37, 34.
Run the tape, babe.
34.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the Lions are going to win this game, man. I think it's going to be ridiculous. I think it's going to be an offensive spectacular.
I definitely think it's going to be an offensive showdown because I don't think either team is really going to stop each other's offense. So I'm really interested on seeing what Swift does. If he can continue and look as good as he did and be an every down back, every down player. We'll
offensive line, Joe, I don't mean to cut you off, but the offensive line was PFF, Pro Football Focus, ranked the Lions' offensive line as the number 1 offensive line running unit this week. When has that ever had, Dan, can you remember a time? It was 1990.
I don't know. I don't know the last time Pro Football Focus ranked.
It was a chilly October afternoon. The Lions were playing the Houston Oilers.
I don't follow Pro Football Focus every single week for the last 20 years.
So I definitely think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But I kind of like the numbers that I read, and I think they're going to be pretty accurate. So what I'm going to say is it's going to be Atlanta 30 and the Lions 28. So it's going to be right there at the border for the over-under, and it's going to tie the plus-minus. It depends on if Swift runs. If he can run like he did, I think we can win the game, but I just don't see it happening just because I don't see it.
I hear that.
It's only happened one time. So.
Dan, before you give your prediction, with this Swift thing, how do you guys feel about this carousel that is going on? Because, I mean, we touched on it earlier, but we didn't really hammer it home as far as, should this be something that the Lions continue to do, is have this 3 running back carousel, basically, and based off of last week's performance, who should start next week?
Swift.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's the rookie. He's the one they're building off of. He should be the guy. But I
don't have a running backs see touches?
I don't have a problem. Most teams have 3 running backs that get touches, but it just depends who gets more. Who gets more of the percentage of those carries and those touches?
Swift
should be like 70. Should get more like
70%.
Should be like 70, 25, 5.
Yeah,
like something like that in terms of percentage.
Yeah,
with Peterson getting 25 and Carrion getting 5.
Yeah,
that's what I would have going into the game.
Mm-hmm. No, that's perfect.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way they go, especially after that game.
You have to give it a shot now, right?
He needs to get the majority of the touches now.
Mm-hmm. Adrian Peterson is something else, though, isn't he? The way this guy
he finds the hole, he finds the open space, and he gets to it. You really notice that,
and he batters people, man.
He really
he's still a punishing runner. So many years into this, battles so many injuries. He's defying logic as a running back. Running back is statistically, what do you get? 2.3 years, I think the average running back.
It's a little
gets.
More than that, but it's less than 3.
It's less than 3, and this guy's been playing since what, 98?
No.
It feels like I feel like Adrian Peterson has been a running back in the NFL my entire life. I know it's not that long, but it feels like it though, doesn't it, man? This guy just keeps going and going and going, man. So I wonder about how.
I wish we had him 10 years ago, but but he's still his vision and his power, just like how he runs and how big he is. He's a strong guy,
and he looks just as in shape. Obviously, he's losing steps. He's not as fast as he used to be, and that's definitely out of his game. But he's become a power runner in his late years, and he has redefined his role, and he keeps doing it every.
He's a good complimentary back for sure.
Yeah,
and like Dan said, 70, 25, 5 would be perfect way to
I think so
to run the ball.
I think it's time to unleash Swift, Swift.
See what he can do. I mean,
That's a hard thing to say. Unleash Swift. But it's time, man, because he looked like he was ready. Now, you're going to go against an actual NFL team this week, though, so are things going to change?
what's your thought, Dan?
Dan. What do you got here?
I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta's a lot better team than what their record is. The Dallas loss was just inexcusable. Like
They had a couple.
How
like
did they
that.
lose that game?
They
Like,
have
it's
another
beyond
one.
comprehension. And then they blew the game against Chicago.
Yeah.
Is it more? Now, Lions fans know about snake bit. Are the Falcons? Do they got this snake bit thing
It's part
going
of it.
on? Like,
Yeah, it's part of it.
Ever since they lost that Super Bowl in the most worst fashion possible, it feels like they continue to do this. These losing, these
blow
crazy
big leads.
They lose games in the way that only the Lions do.
Yeah.
You know.
They're very similar teams in that respect. I mean, they got big time quarterbacks who haven't been able to win the big one. Obviously, Stafford more than Ryan. Ryan's at least won some playoff games, but still, Ryan hasn't won the big one. You know, they got good offenses, but their defenses aren't very good.
Good wide receivers.
They've blown leads. They've blown games that they should have won that they ended up losing.
So
they're very similar
much
football
better
teams.
running backs, though. Ryan's in the argument between Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford. Matt Ryan has always had a better running back.
Oh, for sure, for sure, yeah, for sure. But in this game, I think Atlanta's the better football team. They're at home. I know that doesn't matter a ton with no crowds, but I still think it's a little bit of an advantage.
It's always traveling and
there's all that's involved, and just being at home is just gives you a little bit of an advantage. But I like Atlanta. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Atlanta's going to pull this one out. I'm saying 31-27. So just slightly on the over. So we actually got the similar amount of points, me and Joe, but slightly different score. But I got Atlanta 31-27. I think they pull this one out.
All right. I want to move on to something that's so close to my heart, and I'm so excited to talk about. Yet it kind of snuck up, and I'm not even really ready to fully talk about it because I wasn't even sure if it was ever going to happen. And that's Michigan football. Oh, baby.
I know, I was surprised.
Big Ten football.
When I saw it on the show sheet, I'm like, wait, it is already the
happening?
24th.
October 24th, man. College football. Now, college football has been going on, but it hasn't been the same without the Big Ten. It hasn't been the same without Michigan and Michigan State. And man, here we are. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Big Ten football is about to go down. And Michigan, when the schedule came out, the revised schedule came out, it was very clear that Michigan got the short end of the stick, big time. Your two cross division?
Crossover
games are Minnesota and Wisconsin. And your first game is on the road at Minnesota. It's almost unfair what happened to Michigan. But there's no time for none of that talk now because it's game on and Big Ten football is starting.
It doesn't matter what your schedule is. You still have to be the best. You have to be the best.
You gotta go.
That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, it does suck to go, to places that you shouldn't. But if you want to be the best, you want to be the national championship, you're gonna have to win those games and you're gonna have to beat those teams. So it doesn't really matter in the long run. At least that's how I feel.
So with this going down, where are we at with? It's going to be cold as hell in Minnesota, but Michigan. And this is the thing: it is almost impossible to even talk about predictions and thoughts on this team because you haven't seen nothing. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen. So many players have come and gone. There's been no reports about how practice is going. Now you're getting certain things out, and the running backs look really good, and there's a lot of them. Joe Milton is the next. Oh God, what's his comparison? Part Tom Brady, part Mike Vick, part Joe Montana, part Johnny Unitas. I think. He's the next savior.
That's good. At least we found a guy like that.
Yeah. They're hard.
It's always
to
good
find.
to find a savior.
Yeah. Hard. They are hard to find, man.
I am upset to see McCaffrey go because I really thought he's a great talent.
Yeah.
So I was sad to see him transfer, but I know they are high on Milton.
Only one guy can play QB, man.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I know. And he almost could be a running back like his brother.
Yeah,
If
he
he
doesn't
would have
have the
stayed.
size.
He didn't have the size. That was
that's
the
true.
problem. Like,
He was pretty skinny, you're right.
Yeah, so he got hurt a couple of times.
And he was groomed to be a QB. But look, if there's one thing, man, you know that both these guys were highly touted, and there was a lot of hope last year about maybe McCaffrey can come in and lead the team, and it didn't really happen. He came in a little bit, but never really blew up. And but look, it's a new year, and it's Milton time, man, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Even the roster is up in the air with this Michigan team. You don't know who. There were superstars that were opting out and then coming back and then opting out again. You're not. We got a roster development, and a few guys were left off, which were concerning. Number one being Nico Collins, stud wide receiver. You don't want to see. We got really excited as Michigan fans when we heard he was coming back. And then you find out yesterday he's left off the roster, and there's just so much. And in this year, so much transition. And with so much happening, and Dan, I want to start off with you because I don't want to bring up fully, I don't want to have a deep conversation about how your high school football season is going, but from a coach's perspective in dealing with the COVID-19 and everything that came with it, with basically no camp and all the different quarantine situations and things just basically flying by the seat of your pants half the time, not knowing what's going to happen from one day to the next. What are your thoughts on Michigan going into this game against Minnesota, especially with Minnesota having, there's some, it's not a full-blown story and no names have come out, but apparently Minnesota's dealing with COVID-19 stuff on their roster right now. With this season starting this Saturday, how do you deal with that? What do you think Harbaugh is going through right now, and how does this team dealing with all the COVID-19 restrictions and everything that happens with that, and with Minnesota having some COVID-19 situations going on, but Coach PJ Fleck is basically refusing to reveal what is. There's no names or anything like that, but apparently there's some stuff going on over there. How difficult is it for these coaches to coach this particular game right now? Going into, especially it's Michigan versus Minnesota. It's going to be, I believe it's prime time.
It's prime time, 7:30 ABC.
Game day is going to be there. This is the first Big Ten game. It's the middle of October. As a head coach, how do you lead your team into this game? What are you telling your team right now?
Well, I think they're going to, they're treating it like, any other game. I think they're doing the best they can in terms of precautions and stuff. I was listening to a podcast the other night, and they were talking about the offensive line coach, what he was doing. Now, this is really fascinating to me because I haven't heard a team do this, and it was really interesting. He would have two different offensive line meetings. So he would do one meeting with 9 of his players, and then he would do another meeting after with another 9 of his players. So if something happened where one of those kids in that meeting had tested positive for COVID, and the rest of those guys had to either caught COVID or they had to quarantine or whatever, he would have that other group of 9 that wasn't around them that could go and play.
Well, what about the coach himself, though?
You would have to have it. They probably had an assistant coach with the other group, or whatever. Or maybe they did it virtual. I'm not sure exactly how they handled it, but the point of it was they kept two different groups of linemen together. So if one group had to be quarantined or they got hit with COVID cases, they would have the other 9 that could go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that to me, that was really two sets of linemen. Yeah. Which they probably had maybe a couple starters with one group, a couple starters with the other. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how they kind of broke it down, but I just thought it was really interesting how they were trying to do 2 different meetings, and I assume the other positions probably did something similar to that. Yeah. Just to try to be as precautious as you could if you did get hit with a bunch of cases, like Notre Dame did early in the year, where they ended up just rescheduling games.
It kind of.
But in terms of what you're saying, I know what you're trying to get at.
Real quick though. All right, Nick Saban went through this week, and he got a positive test, and then he took 2 ones and turned out to be a false positive. He got 2 negatives. What about all those? You didn't hear anything about all those other coaches, and they're having coaches meetings.
Well, they didn't test positive.
So if one coach gets, they
all tested, and they all tested negative. So it was a false positive, so it ended up being not a big deal.
What a weird thing.
But in terms of going into this game, and just specifically Michigan against Minnesota, it's the first game of the season. It's the first game of the season. I would put a big advantage for Minnesota having a starting quarterback returning, whereas Michigan they're trying to break in a new quarterback. And whenever you're trying to break in a new quarterback, you would prefer to have your first game be against, preferably one at home, and number 2 against a team that you're scheduled to beat, like a MAC opponent or a Division II opponent or something like that. A cupcake game to start off when you're breaking in a new quarterback. Not only is it not a cupcake game in any regard, they're on the road against Minnesota, who's one of the top teams in the Big Ten. So that's how you're breaking a new quarterback. That's going to be extremely difficult. Whereas Minnesota has Tyler Morgan, who started last year, was very, very good last year for Minnesota. He steps right back as a starting quarterback for Minnesota. So to me, that's a big advantage going into this game.
Is it an advantage for the road team with no fans? Obviously, it is slightly, but how much of a difference do you think the fact that there isn't going to be 75,000 screaming fans in that stadium at that night game?
Obviously, that helps a lot for the road team. It takes a lot of the advantage away, but I still think it's an advantage being home. Like we talked about with the Lions going to Atlanta, right? It's still, you would rather have that game. If you're a Lions fan, you'd rather have it at Ford Field. Same thing with Michigan. You'd rather have the game at home at Michigan. The travel and everything, and just being in a different environment. I mean, it can be a factor, but obviously not having a crowd, I'm not sure how Minnesota holds, maybe 70,000, something like that.
Yeah, something
but,
like that, probably.
But not having all those screaming fans, I mean, it's a factor. Instead of playing in an empty stadium like they will be. But still, I mean, going back to it, I think it's a huge advantage for Minnesota. If you're going to look at anything in this game, I take away is that Minnesota has a starting quarterback returning, whereas Michigan's breaking a new quarterback.
So, where are you at with this? Are you glad that the Big Ten is coming and playing football, or do you think they're making a mistake, or did they make a mistake by not starting in September?
No, I think it's a good idea to play football to try to get things back to normal. I think maybe they did make a little bit of a mistake to not start earlier with all the other teams, but I know the guy isn't the Big Ten, the guy that runs the Big Ten, like a doctor. So I know they had some influences from doctors, being in the leadership. So I think that's
Kevin
part of it.
Warren, I think. But
I know
Michigan.
The
president of Michigan.
I know President of Michigan does too, but so I don't know. It's tough to say because they were looking out for the kids' best interests just to make sure things didn't happen. And you did see a lot.
Or were
of
they looking to not get sued?
Well, you also seen a lot of these kids, like the teams like Notre Dame that got it. They had so it was maybe
look
the
at
right
Florida.
decision.
Florida's got to suspend all activities right now.
Yeah, so
canceling games.
So it could be the right decision if these teams the Big Ten don't have outbreaks. I don't see that happening. I see it happening probably with them as well.
Well, if they were
the right decision.
If they were so steadfast on not playing early on, did they break down to the pressure of just playing football?
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what changed?
Yeah.
What changed from the time they decided that they weren't going to play to when they just decided that they are going to play?
In fact,
I know that they were given rapid testing, the rapid testing that they could test every day. I know that that was a factor. But originally they said, well, they were worried about heart issues with COVID, and it's like, well, what changed in that respect?
Yeah.
If you're really concerned about the health of the players, what changed? And I can understand the testing that added a factor. The fact that they can have rapid testing and test every day or every other day. I mean, that helps, but still, like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to know, like, what really went on behind the scenes and what went on in those closed door meetings.
30 man. And
we'll see what happens with these teams, because if the Big Ten doesn't have any outbreaks, then they did make the right decision.
But if they do, the problem is too, because they're starting so late. Like the SEC put themselves in a position by starting on time that they could reschedule games and push some games back to the end of the year, which they did.
Are you looking at
the Big Ten doesn't really have that option.
Are you looking at these rankings though? Ohio State is still, like, depending on what poll you look at, like 3rd, 4th, 5th, without even playing a game yet. And the SEC is beating themselves up.
Well, the Big Ten will too. I mean,
that's
going to happen.
So it's interesting. Like, there's no dominant team, and a lot of these teams that are getting highly ranked are losing the next week.
No dominant team. What do you mean? Like in the Big Ten, or just
in all of it, in all of college football?
Well, there's a dominant team in the Big Ten. Clearly. Well, clearly.
Nobody's taking the field yet.
I know,
so how
but
do you know?
Based on the past few years and who they have coming back.
Yes. If I was to go to mybookie.com and put my money on a Big Ten champion, I would put it on that team down south. But nobody's taken the field yet, man. And what I'm saying, though, to that point with these games that have been played so far, there's a lot of back and forth here, man. Yeah, Alabama looks damn good again, as they always do. But I mean,
and Clemson.
Those
two. Like it is almost every year.
Clemson had a close game though. One close enough.
They just won like 73-7.
At Georgia Tech, man.
I don't care who it is. He played a Division I team and put up 73 on them.
Yeah, no, they're nasty, and it's probably what we're looking at is Bama, Clemson, and Ohio State sneaking in somehow and having to play one of those two teams, and can they beat them or not to get the championship? Team number 4 is probably going to be irrelevant unless Joe Milton there goes wild.
I know it's almost too hard to predict this game because you have no.
You haven't seen him. You haven't seen him, and nobody's really seen him because they didn't have spring game.
They see him in practice. Yeah.
They haven't seen anything.
I know.
So it's all going to be new.
Yeah.
What if he's great, man? And what if this team is great? Blah, blah, blah. I know. Which leads me to a bigger question, man, is the future of these two teams that are playing. Michigan versus Minnesota is a very attractive game. And there's two very interesting coaches. And Dan, you posed the question, but I'm gonna throw it right at you. Right now, would you rather have Jim Harbaugh or PJ Fleck?
PJ Fleck.
Why?
He's a lot younger, and I think that his best years are ahead of him. Whereas Harbaugh, I think his best years are behind him as a head coach. And I don't know what it is with Jim Harbaugh, but something happened when he lost that game against Ohio State, and they should have won. They should have went to the Big Ten championship, went to the playoffs, and they marked him short, and they had to, didn't have any calls go their way, blah 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 blah. Well, but they lost that game, and something happened to Harbaugh that night. I'll tell you what happened.
He had his soul ripped out of his body once when he was coaching for San Francisco, and his brother beat him in the Super Bowl. And then his big redemption was supposed to be bring back Michigan to the forefront, and he got his soul ripped out again. You can only get your soul ripped out once, let alone twice. I think that's what happened, man. But he's not out there playing linebacker. He's not out there throwing passes to a wide open wide receiver.
He's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. And has he had a good quarterback?
Well, what if he has this guy now? And what if this is the time?
It's a what if?
What if?
We've been saying that forever, though.
Yes.
And PJ Fleck, everybody questioned, man. He took a Western Michigan MAC team that nobody knew about and took them to the freaking what do you even call it? It was the BCS. Like he went to a major
BCS
bowl
game,
game,
Yeah.
right? And
I'm agreeing with Dan.
And he
With
did the roll the boat. He took that team, and then everybody was like, "What the hell are you doing going to Minnesota? Minnesota? Why would you do that?" And now he's got him on the forefront, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like PJ Fleck. I've been a PJ Fleck fan since the day I knew about him.
What about you?
I would have to agree, man.
Yeah.
I would much rather have PJ Fleck right. Like today, now when it was, can you get Jim Harbaugh or get PJ Fleck when Jim Harbaugh first got hired?
Well, yeah, who was PJ Fleck at that point?
He was the guy. He was doing things over there, and I knew about it, man. I did, man. He was on my radar for sure. Because I just saw it, man. I saw some stuff firsthand, man.
But clearly at the time it was Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was
It
the right
had to
choice,
be, man.
and he brought him to the forefront. Like he beats Ohio State in that game, which they were the better team.
1 yard, half a yard.
No one could tell me differently. They were the better team on the field.
They were.
And somehow the game slipped away. Right? You could talk about all the different things that happened in that game, but they were the better team, and that game slipped away from them, and they have not been able to get back to that point. And I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will get back to that point, and that's why I'm saying right now I would rather have PJ Fleck than Jim Harbaugh. I just think he's the guy right now. He's the coach.
Do you think
that everybody would want to have?
Possibility of that? Let's say Jim Harbaugh. He's not going to get fired.
He's not going to get fired or retires.
What if he moves on? Because there is still
He gets
NFL.
sick.
There's still NFL possibilities for Jim Harbaugh.
There is.
I know that blanket's kind of cooling there, but because even last year there was talk of 2 or 3 teams that wanted Harbaugh, like in the NFL. He still did take San Francisco to the Super Bowl. He is an NFL caliber head coach. Let's say the unthinkable does happen, okay, and Harbaugh moves on from Michigan. Michigan has the money to offer. Would PJ Fleck do that? Especially being, like, he was at Western, right? He knows what Michigan football is, and now he's in the Big Ten. He knows the difference between Minnesota and Michigan, right? You think he'd make that leap?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if he's trying to build something? He is building something, but he built something at Western, and boom, he left for the Big Ten. So what if he thinks Minnesota is just a stepping stone?
It might be. It probably is, actually.
Even if he does build a consistent winner there, like Wisconsin, Wisconsin's been a consistent winner for 20, 25 years now, right? But still, if let's say you like Barry Alvarez, did the same thing at Wisconsin but did it at Michigan, how he would be talked about nationally, historically.
Well, isn't he the Big Ten?
He's the AD now for Wisconsin.
He's the AD.
But what I'm
Wisconsin,
saying is
he's like on the board in the Big Ten or something.
He might be. But I'm just talking about when. But still, if you did
have
that same success at Michigan, it's just different how you're looked at.
Well, Wisconsin's different, man. Wisconsin's big time now. Wisconsin's been in Big Ten championships. Wisconsin is a player.
What I'm saying is, if Fleck does that at Minnesota, it doesn't mean the same in terms of how nationally. And maybe he doesn't care about that. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But how just you are looked at historically, if you do that, have that same success at Minnesota, but instead do it at Michigan, it's just different. Because you're doing it,
especially if PJ Fleck goes in and beats Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly.
Consistently, you're a legend, man. Up there with Bo Schembechler, man. I mean, I don't want to turn on my coach, man, but yeah, I would have to say, man, like today, if we were starting the season out today and going forward, yeah, I would have to say I'd rather have PJ Fleck than Jim Harbaugh.
But what does PJ Fleck remind you of, though? You know what he reminds me?
Don't say Mark D'Antonio.
No. You know what he reminds me of?
Oh.
A young Jim Harbaugh. That style, the way he interacts with players, just the enthusiasm.
Yeah,
that's a young Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, you're right.
That's Jim Harbaugh at Stanford.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, I can see it. But PJ Fleck has done his own thing, though. I get what you're saying, But he's got.
I'm talking about in terms of his style and the way he turned around programs quickly.
Yeah.
He did it at Western Michigan.
Yeah.
He's doing it at Minnesota. That's what Harbaugh did.
I mean,
he did it at Stanford. Then he went to San Francisco.
Well, he was at San Diego, wasn't he? Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's where he started.
And he was winning games there, and that's how he got the Stanford job.
Yep.
And then he beat Pete Carroll in USC.
Yeah.
And here's the thing you got to remember about that, man, is with those Stanford days. Remember who that quarterback was. And you start wondering who was the bigger asset. Was it Andrew Luck?
Then he went to San Francisco and did the same thing with San Francisco with two different quarterbacks, Alex Smith and then Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And then he came to Michigan, and Michigan was on the brink. They were on the brink of being one of those great teams that end up just falling apart, and they go years without ever getting back to it. You know, you look like Nebraska right now. Like, Nebraska's just a mediocre team. They're not looked at as like what Nebraska was in the 90s, right? They're just not. After Tom Osborne, and they're just not that team anymore. Yeah. And Michigan was on the brink of becoming one of those teams. Those great historical teams back in the day, but now they're not. And Harbaugh brought them back. They haven't won the big one. They haven't been able to beat Ohio State, of course. But they're still one of those top 15 college football programs. They're still playing big-time national games. First game of the season. On the shortened Big Ten season, first game of the season, their college game days there. It's the primetime game. The Harbaugh brought that back. They're playing big-time games again. They got to win them. And they haven't been.
Yeah.
But at least they're playing those big-time games again. At least we're talking about Michigan in that type of sense.
Well, look, man, this is the segment where we're going to make wild predictions. Because who the hell knows what is going to happen on Saturday in the Big Ten. My prediction is Nebraska beats the hell out of Ohio State because I really hope that happens. But
I don't see that one.
You guys don't see that one coming?
No, I don't see that.
No, we are going to predict this Michigan-Minnesota game. And you know what, man? Shoot. All right, let me throw this dart here. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm going to throw this dart. All right, Michigan wins. Michigan wins 30-22, and Joe Milton becomes the front runner for the Heisman.
So it's the October Heisman now.
The October Heisman.
Yeah, like you said, who knows what's going to happen? But it is Michigan, and they do lose. So I honestly think they're going to lose. Because it is a new quarterback. I mean, it's really too hard to predict what's going to happen, but I hope Milton at least looks good, like he can, not scared out there like past Michigan quarterbacks. Like I shouldn't even be out here. Let me just throw it real quick. But that's what I'm hoping for, at least to see Milton at least be able to throw the ball and look decent, not scared.
Yeah.
But I just don't see him winning, and mainly because of that reason. Just too new of a team. Like we said, we would rather have PJ Flex, so I think that Michigan's going to lose, unfortunately.
I think Minnesota's going to win this game too, and it's because what I talked about earlier, just having the experience at quarterback. The first game of the Big Ten season is a big-time game, night game, prime time. I would rather have the quarterback with experience. I think these teams are pretty even. I mean, we're going to obviously know so much more about these teams in this league in general after this first week. We're kind of going into it blind for the most part. But the one thing I do know is that Minnesota has an experienced quarterback playing in this game, really good, Tyler Morgan, and that's where I'm going to put my money on. If I'm going to my bookie and putting some money down on this game, I'm going to put it on Minnesota. I'm going to pick Minnesota 26-23, really good football game, but I think Minnesota's going to pull it out in the end.
All right. There is another team that gets very few headlines that used to be pretty good, and that is the Michigan State Spartans. And they have a huge matchup.
Big time game nationally. Everybody's
talking about this one, man. The Michigan State versus Rutgers game.
Well worth the wait for Big Ten football.
It's going to be interesting.
How bad do you feel for Mel Tucker?
Brutal. I mean, just brutal. You're taking over for a legend, and it's your first year. and you get COVID-19, you don't get to hardly have any practices. All your practices trying to implement a totally new scheme to this team, players that you've barely seen or talked to, and you got to do it all virtually for the most part. Like, brutal. I can't imagine a worse way to start your tenure in a big time program. This is huge for him to have a good start, and man, talk about being behind the eight ball.
The pressure,
but at least he gets a cupcake, if you want to call it. You don't get many cupcakes in the Big Ten season, but Rutgers is the definition of a cupcake. So at least he starts off with that, which Michigan was starting off with Rutgers for crying out loud.
Now look, but Coach Tucker has to have a pass this year, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Unless they're it'd have to be a complete and total embarrassment. Like if they got smoked 45-0 to Rutgers, and you're like, whoa, what is going on? That would be.
And then it continues throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, it would have to be pretty catastrophically bad. But I don't see that happening. I think they're going to beat Rutgers for that matter. I think they'll win this first game.
Yeah.
But I think he totally gets a pass for this season. Because he just hasn't had any time to really work with his players, on the field at least.
And there's no superstars really on this team. There's no one that, you could pinpoint, oh, man, you talk about building blocks, building a team around something. There's no one, he won't even, produce who his quarterback is. Because he probably doesn't know.
They needed to have a full camp and have a quarterback battle. They couldn't do that.
Yeah. What do you guys predict for not even this game? I think we all think Michigan State can just throw out anybody and beat Rutgers, so they probably should. But who what are your predictions for even this season? What would even be a positive season for Michigan State? Because what do you got? Eight games, I think. But then everybody's going to play a ninth game. I think it goes for the Big Ten playoff or whatever, whoever's not in a championship, everybody lines up against each other or something.
Yeah.
It's depending on what
where you finish.
Yeah, so you get 9 games. What would even be good for Michigan State? 4 wins, 4 and 5.
I would say
Is that successful?
I would say, and just be competitive. Just be competitive. Don't get blown off the field. Yeah, I would say 4 wins would probably be the tops. It's because they're not getting any non-division or non-conference games.
Yeah.
So it's all Big Ten, games. So I would say 4 would be.
And they got to play Michigan State, Penn State.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Ohio State. So maybe Maryland, Northwestern, Indiana, and Rutgers.
Yeah,
that'd be their 4. Yeah.
That's about it. You got Michigan, Iowa. And then
Iowa's a crossover.
Yeah. So Iowa and Northwestern are the crossovers.
Penn State, Ohio State. So yeah, that's probably the best they could do. If they do it better than that, then that's a good year.
Real good year.
Yeah, first year.
All right. Well,
we're all picking Michigan State, right?
Yeah.
I think that's clear.
We're all picking Michigan State to beat Rutgers. Whatever. You got the over/under on that? What is it, 6?
I thought I saw 13.
7 points.
I thought it was 13 for Michigan State.
Wait, no, the spread. I was talking about the over/under.
I don't know what the over/under is.
I think the over/under should be around 9 or 10. This game's gonna be 3-0. Who knows, man? Oh, it's probably gonna be ugly. Or maybe the offense somehow goes nuts and it's high scoring. Probably not, though, man. It's probably going to be a defensive battle.
No, it'll probably be, for sure, defensive battle. He's a defensive coach, too. So.
Honestly, whatever the under is, I'm taking it.
Let's see.
Oh, this game didn't even register.
So not available.
Yeah, no one's betting on it, so they're just
I want to figure out who the quarterback is first, maybe. Who knows, man? Let's say the over/under is 40. Can one team get to 21 and another team get to 20? If I put if I bet you and I said the over under is 41, what would you take?
Oh, I'd take the under.
You take the under on 41 points?
41, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, me too, probably, man.
I can see this being a 24-10.
Yeah.
Snoozer.
Yeah, it's not even a snoozer. It's...
What do you guys think? All right. is Ohio State just a clear runaway here? Or does this non-predictable COVID-19 2020 season have some intrigue to it?
I think going into the season, they're the clear favorite. But like I said earlier, I think we'll get a much better view of this whole league after the first week. Just nobody knows. Nobody's seen anything. It's usually, we have, 3 or 4 non-conference games before we get into the league schedule.
Yeah. One of them's usually a big game.
And there's usually some big games within that, right? So every team usually has at least somewhat big game in the non-conference schedule, right? Michigan's is usually Notre Dame. Ohio State is
Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's been scheduled in Oklahoma. So there's usually a big one that you get a barometer for where these teams are at before the Big Ten schedule starts.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Yeah. Not only do you have no idea, but usually we're looking at different reports from beat writers who are there at spring practice, and they got a good feel of what's going on. They don't even have a good feel. Nobody knows. Nobody's seen anything. And with a new quarterback coming in, you have no idea how this offense is going to play out. Yeah. And you got a coordinator in the second year with a new quarterback. This might have a completely different look than what we've seen in the past.
The spread for Rutgers is plus 13.
Yeah, it's
Michigan State's plus 13.
No, minus 13.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Rutgers is getting 13.
Yes.
Rutgers is getting 13.
And then the over/under is 44.5.
Oh, you were close.
44.5.
I would take the under.
I would definitely take the under on that.
13's a lot to give.
I would take Rutgers in the points in that one, especially if I'm taking the under.
And then Michigan, Minnesota.
You're 24-10 though, man.
I know, right there.
Oh man.
I wouldn't mess with the spread. I would take the under.
According to mybookie.com, Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan is -3.
-3.
Awesome.
-3 on the road at night.
And over/under's 55.
55. I said 30. What did I say? 30-22.
So we would say take Minnesota in the 3. Dan and I. If we're picking them out right, you're gonna take.
No, 3 I think Michigan beats them by a touchdown. That over/under is tough though.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'd probably go under. I would go under on that. Well, all right, fellas. We are right in the midst of football, and Big Ten football.
Talking Big Ten football's fun, isn't it?
Holy smokes, it is, man. You guys, any final thoughts here?
I'm just excited to watch Big Ten football. Like I said, we haven't seen anything from these guys. We don't really have a good feel for the league. I mean, we think Ohio State's a clear favorite. Maybe that changes though. Maybe Nebraska gets in the game. We're thinking differently, So it's just going to be exciting to see all these teams come out and play and to watch Big Ten football. It's going to bring back a lot more normalcy. It's been nice watching the SEC and ACC, but, man, those aren't our teams. That's not what we've watched year in and year out. Like, our league is Big Ten football, and it's going to be nice to see Michigan State and Michigan come out and play on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, same with me. I'm a Big Ten guy. I normally watch the Big Ten more than anything else, so it is going to be nice to see the Big Ten back. And like you said, Michigan State, I like to watch them both if I can. So it'll be interesting to see, these teams. It's all new this year. Everything is so new. It is crazy that it's even starting this quick. And all of a sudden it seems like it's here. So it's going to be interesting watching them for sure.
And it is, man. And for me, it's like I'm a big SEC guy. I like watching SEC football, and what I've seen in that division has been wild, man. You never know what's going to happen. Like, yeah, Bama's being Bama, but even throughout the league, the whole college football world, it's been so unpredictable so far, and now you're bringing in the Big Ten. Like, hey, everybody, we're here for the party, too. We're a little late. We're fashionably late, but guess what? Big Ten football's here, baby. And there's going to be some teams that are going to make some noise, and this year is so unpredictable. Like I said, this 2020 year, nobody knows what's going to happen. So I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready to see the Big Ten get going, and I can't wait. I'm so excited because it is like game days at Minnesota. It's a prime time game. It's the first game of the Joe Milton era, and it's Jim Harbaugh's time to shine, man. Because what better time to go do it right now, And if he can lead his team to a bunch of victories and then go beat Ohio State and have this be the year, and it's possible. It's very, very possible. This team is loaded with talent. So let's go blue, man. Oh man, honestly, it is very possible that this is Harbaugh's, what do you want to call it, not a breakout year. He's Jim Harbaugh. He's got a resume that's hard to top, as far as coaching goes. But he needs this year. He needs to do good this year. He needs to lead his team to victory, and he needs to beat Ohio State. This could be the year. And we're going to see, man, maybe he finally has his quarterback.
We're going to find out Saturday night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Detroit Sports Sit Down. Peace.